Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel and connect us all. April 1945. A prisoner of war camp in northern France. The war was almost over. Sergeant Thomas Blake was processing German prisoners when one of them did something completely unexpected. He reached down into his boot and pulled out a photograph. What Blake saw in that photo made his blood run cold, because the face staring back at him was someone he knew. This is a true story of betrayal, brotherhood, and a secret that crossed enemy lines. To understand this story, we need to go back to 1935, Brooklyn, New York. The Fisher family had come to America from Germany in 1920, right after the First World War. They wanted a fresh start, away from the devastation Europe had become. Heinrich and Anna Fisher had two sons, Thomas, born in 1921 in New York, and Klaus, born in 1919 in Germany before they emigrated. The boys were inseparable growing up. Klaus, the older brother, always protective. Thomas, the younger, always looking up to his big brother. They played stickball in the streets of Brooklyn, worked together at their father's bakery, and dreamed about their futures. But in 1936, everything changed. Their grandmother in Munich fell seriously ill. Someone needed to go take care of her. Klaus volunteered. He was 17, responsible, and spoke fluent German. "I'll go for a few months," he told Thomas. "Take care of Oma, then I'll come back." Thomas was 15. He hugged his brother at the dock. "Don't be gone too long," he said. Klaus smiled. "I'll be back before you know it, Tommy." But Klaus never came back. Their grandmother died 6 months later, but by then, the political situation in Germany had changed. The Nazi Party was rising. The borders were tightening. Klaus tried to return to America. 3 times he applied for an exit visa. 3 times he was denied. By 1938, letters from Klaus stopped coming entirely. Thomas and his parents were frantic. They contacted the German embassy, the State Department, anyone who would listen. But the answer was always the same. Klaus Fischer was a German citizen. He was staying in Germany. What they didn't know was that Klaus had been conscripted into the Wehrmacht. December 8, 1941. The day after Pearl Harbor, Thomas Fisher, now 20 years old, walked into the Army recruitment office in Brooklyn. He didn't hesitate. "I want to enlist," he told the recruiter. His parents begged him not to go. They'd already lost one son to this madness. But Thomas was resolute. "Klaus is over there somewhere, Ma. Maybe I can find him. Bring him home." It was a naive hope, but it was all he had. By 1943, Sergeant Thomas Blake, he'd Americanized his name, was fighting in North Africa, then Italy, then France. He'd seen brutal combat and lost friends, but every German soldier he encountered, he looked at their face. Searching, always searching. Could it be Klaus? Could this be the one? It never was. Meanwhile, across the battlefield, Klaus Fischer was experiencing his own nightmare. He'd been forced into the Wehrmacht in 1939, sent to Poland, France, and then the brutal Eastern Front. Klaus hated every moment. He never believed in the Nazi ideology. He'd grown up with American values. But desertion meant execution. Then he learned something terrible. His younger brother Thomas was fighting for the Americans. He heard it from a captured American soldier from Brooklyn who recognized the Fisher name. "Tommy Fisher?" The American had said. "Yeah, I know him. He's a sergeant now." Tough as nails. From that moment, Klaus lived in constant fear. Not of dying, but of something far worse. What if he and Thomas met on the battlefield? April 12, 1945. A small town in Bavaria. The Americans were advancing rapidly. The Third Reich was collapsing. Klaus Fischer's unit had been fighting for 3 days straight. No food, little ammunition. When the American tanks rolled into town, Klaus was one of the first to raise his hands. He was done. The German prisoners were lined up in the town square, exhausted and defeated. American soldiers moved through the line, collecting weapons and taking names. Klaus stood there, hands on his head, and prayed that his brother wasn't here. Then he heard a voice giving orders, a voice he recognized instantly. Sergeant Thomas Blake was processing the prisoners. Klaus's heart nearly stopped. After 9 years, his brother was standing 30 feet away. Thomas had changed. He was older, harder, with a scar across his cheek. But it was unmistakably him. Klaus made a dangerous decision. He slowly reached down to his boot. Hidden in a secret pocket was the only possession he kept safe through the war, a photograph. When Thomas reached Klaus in the line, Klaus didn't look up. He just extended his hand, holding the photograph. "Sergeant," Klaus said quietly in English. "Please, look." Thomas took the photo, irritated. Probably another German, wanting to show him his family, hoping for mercy. But when Thomas looked at the photo, he froze. It was a picture of 2 boys in Brooklyn, standing in front of a bakery with a sign that read, "Fisher's Bakery." One of the boys was unmistakably a young Thomas Blake. The other, Thomas looked up, really seeing the German POW's face for the first time. "Klaus?" Thomas whispered. Klaus looked up, tears streaming down his face. "Hello, Tommy." For a moment, time stopped. Thomas stared at his brother, the brother he thought he might never see again. His first instinct was to embrace him, but they were surrounded by soldiers and the war that had torn them apart. "Keep moving," Thomas said loudly for the others. But he slipped the photograph into his own pocket. That night, Thomas pulled strings to get a private conversation. In a small, guarded room, the Fisher brothers finally spoke. "I tried to come back," Klaus said immediately. "God, Tommy, I tried so many times. They wouldn't let me leave." "I know," Thomas said. "Ma and Pa, they never gave up hope." "Are they—" "They're alive, waiting. Pa still runs the bakery." Klaus collapsed into his brother's arms, sobbing. Years of fear and loneliness poured out. "I never wanted this," Klaus choked out. "I never fired my weapon at Americans. I always aimed high. I couldn't risk that it might be you." Thomas held his brother. I know. "Listen to me," Thomas said firmly. "The war's almost over. You're a POW. Now you'll be safe. And when this is over, I'll make sure you get home." "Home," Klaus repeated, as if the word was foreign to him. "Home," Thomas confirmed. "To Brooklyn. To Ma and Pa. I promise you, Klaus, I'm bringing you home." Sergeant Thomas Blake kept his promise. When the war ended, Thomas worked tirelessly through military bureaucracy. In September 1945, Klaus Fischer was released from a POW camp in France. Thomas was waiting for him at the gate. Together, the Fisher brothers boarded a ship to New York. When they walked into their father's bakery in Brooklyn, Heinrich Fischer dropped the bread he was holding and collapsed to his knees. Anna Fischer screamed and ran to her sons. The family had been broken for 9 years, but now they were whole again. Klaus and Thomas never spoke much about the war. Some wounds were too deep for words. But every Sunday for the rest of their lives, the Fisher brothers had breakfast together at their father's bakery, just like when they were kids. 2 brothers, 2 armies, 1 photograph that changed everything. Subscribe for more incredible true stories from the war that changed the world. And remember, even in our darkest hours, family can find a way back to each other. Thanks for watching.